to the Survivor Savant podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Newport, the self-proclaimed Survivor Savant himself. Today, we are going to be recapping the events that occurred in episodes between episode 10 through 12. So basically, we're recapping what happened in the final 7 to the final 5. Alright, now, last week, I covered everything that happened in merch with Sean's alphabet voting strategy to Greg and Richard having a feud between each other on who's like the smartest game player out there on the island, to even oh my goodness, to even Jenna having not seen her loved one's video message because they didn't get sent in on time. That was a hard thing to witness for anybody. It was harsh, but that was last week. Let's focus now on this week. Okay, so first off, we start with the episode 10, Crack in the Alliance. Now, after hearing the events that, or at least witnessing the events that occurred at last week's tribal council. Sorry, I took a sip of water there. We see that Sean's voting strategy of voting randomly based on the alphabet was hopefully a way for him to not face the consequences of voting somebody he really cared for out, because he doesn't want to be the bad guy. He doesn't want to be the person who wants to vote somebody out because somebody told him to. He doesn't want that to happen. He just wanted to vote his way, and hopefully by voting based on the alphabet that he wouldn't have much consequences that would happen. But little did he know that going to that tribal council, his vote was the one vote that sent Jenna home, and he didn't want that to happen. He was hoping that his vote wouldn't be the reason and somebody was being sent home. Upon realizing this, we also see Sean is not quite the brightest as far as gameplay goes, because it's obvious from everybody who's not just playing the game, aside from Sean, and everybody at home who's watching this it's obvious that there's an alliance going on. You got Richard, Rudy, Kelly, and Sue working together. We've seen in the last 3 tribal councils where they voted Gretchen off, they voted Greg off, and even though Kelly, he wasn't exactly voting with them, Jenna did get voted off by 4 votes, just like the last 2. Thanks for Dr. Alphabet. Oh my goodness. And it surprises me that Colleen, who is not very much interested in the game, not as much as Sean is apparently, Colleen even realizes that she knows that there's an alliance going on and that she's on the bottom along with Jervis. And the fact that Sean doesn't see it kind of not infuriates her, but also it really kind of boggles her mind on why he hasn't seen this before. And as we get further on the episode, where we start to see some cracks in the alliances start to form. I remember that Sue and Kelly were talking to each other, and they've thought about plenty of times to get Richard out, because he is such a big threat in this game, even if people don't see it. He's very tactical, he's strategic, and the sooner they can get Richard out, the better their game is. Because eventually, when it gets down to the 4 of them, they're gonna have to split up with each other eventually, and somebody's gotta go. And I guess Sue would much rather have it be Rich than she would herself. And she's been keeping it very concealed as far as making sure that her image doesn't affect her game, because going in she wanted to be seen as the dumb redneck who didn't really know that much, and so far it's worked her out for her beneficially. I'll say as much about Sue. If you can make yourself look like you have no idea what you're doing, when on the inside you actually realize you know what you're doing, especially in the game of Survivor, and if you can somehow downplay it and make other people think that you're not that much of a threat, then that could actually work out for you well when people are surprised with the game moves that you do later on. You know, and Sue, she really wants to take Richard out, and if that does work for her in the end, and if she does get Richard out, that would absolutely be one of the biggest moves to be ever made. You know, it would have been one of the biggest moves that have ever been made on Survivor, to get one of the biggest strategic threats out just like that without even them realizing. But putting that aside, I personally myself, I would absolutely let people think that I'm this particular person. Even though I'm not exactly fitting the part, I want people to see me as this big, dumb, little chubby and little stocky guy who doesn't really care that much. He only plays video games and reads comic books and stuff like that. But on the inside, I am a big Survivor fan, and any strategy that I can think of that would be perfect for the game of Survivor, and if I have no one suspecting what I'm doing, then I could definitely see myself winning this game. Even if people don't think I can, I say, oh well, I'll just have you vote it out and having your torch snuff. See how you think about that. But anyway, moving on from that, we later find out in the episode that Jervis, while he was out there on the island, his son was born at 3:05 a.m. My goodness. And this is giving me kind of the emotional feels, because recently I just oh my goodness, I was recently informed about some special news, and I'm all excited. I'm not going to give too much away about it, because I made a promise as to someone that I wouldn't reveal too much about it and let them do it on their own, so to their wishes. Love you. But anyway, Jervis has a son. He was born, and to celebrate, he was given a cigar to light up, and everybody's got to turn and light a cigar, or getting a puff of it. Myself, I am not a smoker, so if I was in on that group, I probably wouldn't take it. Not that I'm saying that you're a jerk because you smoke. No, I'm not saying that. I mean, I have parents who also smoke, and I myself am not a smoker. And if I were to have kids of my own someday, I would tell them not to do any smoking, and it's not a good thing for your health, despite what people say. But no, other than that, everybody's celebrating, and we later get another tree mail informing them that the reward is a phone call from home, and along with that, a slice of hot piping pizza. Now, if there's anybody who loves Survivor as much as I do, you know that pizza is probably one of the trying to think of the right word here, quintessential prizes in Survivor history. Yeah, that's sort of the word. And everybody loves pizza. I mean, come on. And even Brando from Survivor 45 has said he wants to try the Survivor pizza, and I'm sure he got to later on. I mean, even though he didn't make it that far, but nevertheless, Brando. Oh, I'm getting lost off topic here. Anyway, to focus on on winning the reward, the tribe members would have to go balance on balance beams and make it to the other side. They'll have certain numbers, they'll start with 7, and then it gets down to 4, and then it gets down to 2, and then eventually it'll get down to 1. whoever wins at the end wins the phone call and the pizza. And as soon as we get into the challenge, we see a lot of them are falling. And Jervis, he almost loses his step, and I can imagine how hard it is to balance on a balance beam. I mean, I've yet to practice on a balance beam so far. As far as practicing for challenges go, I haven't done much practice for Survivor Challenge other than starting fires with flint and also Survivor puzzles. That's another thing you gotta focus on too, is if you're gonna be on Survivor someday, you gotta learn what to do on Survivor. Not just the survival aspect, but also challenge wise, the obstacles that they give you, from balance beams to freaking knot tying to crawling up a pole. Although that only happens one time in Survivor South Pacific. But anyway, any Survivor challenges that you can think of that you would like to practice on before you get on there, or if you do get that call, I highly recommend it, because hey, it worked out great for Survivor players who have gone in the past, who have practiced puzzles and challenges before in their backyard, and they got to win challenges. It's because of it. It worked out well for them. I mean, not for all of them, because they got voted off or eliminated or medevac. Nonetheless. So after the main legs, the winner was Jervis, which was great because, Jervis got to have his phone call from home with his girlfriend and Carmela and his daughter Kayla, and we even get to see him at home with his girlfriend and his baby in her arms, along with Kayla kissing and just messing around with the hair. It was really cute and wholesome, and I just love seeing moments like that. And sometimes there are moments where I could act like the tough guy, but on the inside I'm really sentimental. I'm not gonna lie about that. I'm sentimental and I'm empathetic, and it always does move me. I have yet to cry though. Watching a scene from Survivor. As heartbreaking as it is and emotional as it is, I have not so far shed a tear for any emotional moments like that. I can be emotional, but I can also manage to rein in my emotions. Alright, so aside from the phone call, Jervis also got to have one slice of a cheese pizza, and before he eats it himself, he offers it to his tribe mates, which they all take. Aside from Rudy though, I didn't see Rudy take a bite out of the slice. But after everybody had their one single bite, Jervis got to finish the rest, and then Jervis made his phone call on the, I don't remember what the model was, but I knew it was like an Ericsson phone, and it was an old phone. Definitely different from the phones we have, and that's just my Gen Z-ness talking. But no, it was great. And after talking to his tribe about having two previous relationships, one he's still in, and the last relationship he had 2 kids, but the girlfriend wasn't really much around, or she didn't want to fully commit just as much as Jervis would, as they were talking about. And the fact that he now has a girlfriend and a daughter and a son, and it's good to hear that he does make time for his kids. If you can make time for your kids, then you can definitely be a good parent. And Rudy was talking about how it kind of feels weird how that you can have kids and you're not even in a marriage status in your life. I mean, I know a couple of people who have kids and have not been married. Shoot, my sister is actually one of them. She has 2 kids, and right now she's currently living on her own. And then my brother Casey, even though him and his girlfriend are expecting, they're not exactly in a hurry to get married. But I'm hoping, not to talk personal stuff, I should leave personal stuff out. I mean, okay, here's my perspective. As far as that topic goes, I have been fortunate enough to like get to experience my life without having the as much as I would love to be in a relationship, and I hope I am hopeful that one of these days I can find myself a future wife and hopefully have a family with. I'm thankful for just living in the moment that I have right now with as much time to myself and how much time I have to like grow and mature myself from there. So that way I can be ready for when I do meet that special someone. And when you're hurrying along in the I'm losing my train of thought here. But no. You know, everybody has their preferences on how they would date and have a family with. I, for one, am waiting for that special someone before I start my family. So just to put it short, I'm still waiting, and I would love to have a family someday. Just to put it short. Anyway, moving on from that, we get into the immunity challenge, where it's pretty simple, and you know, everybody knows that fire represents life out here. And in order to win the immunity challenge, you would have to pardon me, I almost burped. In order to win immunity, you would have to start a fire in this fire pit that everybody has. They have their own like fire pit to build a fire in. They have to gather supplies that are all over the beach, which is fortunate because the beach that they're on currently has a lot of driftwood, dry palm fronds, and sticks. And in order to light their fire pit, they would have to like grab their torch and go out to the ocean where there are floating buoys with lit torches. They would have to light it and then light their fire pits in order to start the fire. Whoever has their fire high enough to burn through the rope and raise their flag wins immunity. Now we can see everybody is getting supplies, you know, like I said, the driftwood, the palm fronds, the sticks, and we see everybody going out there in the ocean to get the fire. They need to light up their the fire pits. The one that is having the most struggle though is Jervis. He went out there like a couple of times because he had it, but then it started dying out. How bad luck would that be if Jervis didn't have any fire, even after going back and forth a couple of times? I mean, could you imagine having your your torch lit, and all of a sudden and going out like that? I mean, it's not the first time this has happened. I mean, I'm sure it'd be hard on me because I'd be like, oh, come on! I just got the... Okay, I'm going back. That'd be pretty tough. Now, we get into it, and after getting it pretty high, Richard managed to lit the flame and burn through the rope and raise his flag, and he ends up winning immunity, which was good news for him because, you know, Sue and Kelly have been planning on voting out Richard soon because, you know, eventually they would have to like drift apart, and they would have to get rid of him sooner or later. But anyway, Richard wins, and now somebody else has to be going home at tribal council. Now, there have been talks about getting rid of either Colleen or Jervis because they're the only two Pagong members left. But there's also been talks of getting rid of Sean because Sean's clueless. He doesn't know what he's doing in this game. He doesn't know what to do out there in the jungle. at this point, he's just a liability, and he's not a necessity to keep around. So, going to tribal council, we see Jenna and Greg in the jury seat, and they're watching the words and the events that have occurred and unfold. Now, interesting thing to point out, before going to tribal council, Jervis and Colleen, they had duct tape, and they took pieces of duct tape and put these shapes on their shirts. Colleen had like a duck on her shirt because she's calling herself the saying duck because, you know, she's a target and everybody's going after her, and Jervis himself also made a target on his shirt because he does see himself as a target. And I will say though, if you really want to make your target look convincing, you would just take that target parachute that they had from the why am I forgetting the challenge name? Stress Signal, that's what it was. The Stress Signal game that they won, you know, the target parachute, and they cut it out and put it on their shirt, and somebody would be like, hey, that's supposed to keep us out of the rain, what the heck? I mean, that would have been terrible, which is probably a good thing that Jervis didn't do that. But I'm just saying, if you were to do that, that would be a lot more convincing. Anyway, we get to the votes. Now it's pretty obvious that there is an alliance of 4, although after what happened, and it's starting to look like the alliance of 4 might be cracking a bit. But other than that, there were 2 votes for Sean, and the rest of the votes were for Jervis, who became the 10th person voted out and the 3rd member of the jury. Now, Jervis had his moments where he was lazy and he was calling girls cows. But you know, there were moments where I did like Jervis. I will never forget the time that he was stressing out during the bug challenge, and you know, it was all around fun getting to see someone like Jervis get to play the game. Now, moving on to episode 11, I don't remember what the episode name was, but after tribal council, we started to see blow-ups occur. Well, not necessarily blow-ups, but we definitely see the Alliance of 4 scrambling a little bit, you know, trying to confirm with one another that they're still sticking with each other. But, you know, after the last several tribal councils, when Kelly was seeming to get along well with the other Pagan people, you know, I could see what their heads were thinking, that Kelly was trying to make herself look like the good guy out of the alliance of bad guys with Richard, Rudy, and Sue. You know, making her stand out as more the nice person. And I could see where that's coming from. I'm like, if that were me in that situation, and if I was being pegged as someone that's a bad guy, I'm like, come on. I mean, yeah, I'm playing like a jerk, but I'm not actually a jerk in real life. Like, you can't just label me like that and just expect to get away with it. But no, that's what Kelly's trying to do, and Richard's trying to take notice of that, and you know, he's been thinking about wanting to get Kelly out because of it. You know, if you're gonna ruin my game, then you might as well get voted out because of that. Now for the immunity challenge, not the immunity, but reward challenge. It's kind of like a trivia challenge, which I'm excited about because I am, for one, trivia. I love trivia, any trivia challenges that they have, I would absolutely love to participate in. And before we actually see the challenge unfold, Colleen was talking about, oh, this is going to be fun. It's going to be like a game show. And then she was like, wait a minute, we are on a game show. Oh, that was funny. But, alright, so we get into the challenge. Here's how it works. Each player will have a cube with 6 answers on them, from multiple choice to true and false. And they are given like a certain number of square. Like some of them are even different colors. If they answer correctly, they get to move on to the next square. And the next square, and so forth. But if there is a player who is not moved out the colored section and the rest of them are in another colored section, they're out of the game. Whoever is the last one standing wins the reward challenge. In this case, it's a personal visa from a Jeff. I mean, it's not his only one. I'm sure he's got like tons more after that. And Jeff, he also shows them that they'll also be spending a night on a yacht. And I'm not gonna lie, when I saw that yacht, I'm like, I want to spend a night in a yacht. You have any idea how fun would that be to go on a yacht? I mean, I don't know what a yacht looks like. I mean, yes, I do know what a yacht looks like. What the heck? Why am I saying I don't know what it looks like? I saw it on television just recently. Jeez. But, no, I only see yachts on television, and I know that there's a TV show called Below Deck where it talks about life on a yacht, and I don't really watch shows like that. I'm more Survivor competition. I'm more Survivor and Big Brother and sometimes The Amazing Race. No, I take that back. I do watch The Amazing Race. And Tough as Nails. I also watch Tough as Nails. I'm more into those shows. And The Challenge too. Also a challenge, but that's an occasion. But no, if I were to go on Survivor and one of those rewards was a yacht, like a night in the yacht, I would absolutely love to spend a night in a yacht and just be living the highlight like Mr. Beast does, in yachts like that. Alright, so we get to the challenge. Now, I'm gonna try my best to recall the questions that were in the challenge. I remember the questions. Some of them were animal themed and some of them were survival based. And I remember there was a question where it was talking about which of these snakes is the most longest and deadliest snakes. Now, I think the snake I answered was a pit viper, which I got it wrong and turned out to be a king cobra, which I'm not gonna lie, I was really upset about because I'm an animal expert. Well, not professionally, but growing up, watching shows like Zaboomafoo, Wild Kratts, and I don't know if there's another animal show. I mean, Crocodile Hunter, obviously. I love watching Crocodile Hunter. I should have known that King Cobra was one of the longest and deadliest snakes in the world. I should have known that. But at least I made up for that when one of the questions was true or false. The way to identify a black widow spider is by the blue hourglass as insignia on its abdomen, which I knew straight away because it was false, because everybody should know that black widow has red hourglass. And then the last question was, if your intestines are like filled with parasites, what is a best way to drink? What is the best thing to drink? in order to clear parasites? And the answer, even though it does sound crazy, is kerosene. And the person who got that correctly and gets to spend the night in the yacht was Sean. The freaking alphabet doctor gets to spend the night in the freaking yacht. Good for him. Glad he can go spend the night on the yacht. But before he goes there, though, he is told that he gets to invite one other player from his tribe to join him for breakfast. Now, throughout the episode, I hear that Sean was very apologetic about things that have happened with Kelly, and he wanted to make up for it, and he thought about taking her on the yacht. And later, when we get to the part where Sean goes off and he's told that he has to tell who he's bringing tomorrow morning to breakfast, Sean asks Kelly if he's sure that he wants to go, and she was like, "That's up to you, Sean, don't pull it," or like, "That's up to you, Sean, don't put it all on me." And then he was asking, "Is there anybody who wants to have breakfast?" And Richard raised his hand, and Sean picks Richard. And Kelly is upset about this. You know, Sean was going on and on about how he would make it up to Kelly and how he would invite her to go on the yacht, but to go back on his word, that just kind of goes to show a little bit about Sean's character, how he says these things and he's not one to like hurt people's feelings, but when he goes back on it, it's like, it's kind of with the alphabet thing. He doesn't want to hurt people's feelings, and he doesn't want to man up and own up to his who he wanted to vote out, which in this case it was like random because of the alphabet strategy. But when he said that he was gonna bring Kelly, he was like gonna bring Rich instead. Even Sue was like, "Come on, man up, grow a pair." I'm not sure if she actually said that, but that's definitely something Sue would probably say. Oh my goodness. But anyway, Kelly is upset, and even before Richard went off to go have breakfast with Sean, she told Jeff, "Tell Sean that Wigglesworth wants has something to say to him." And yeah, I would be very upset too if somebody promised me a night on the yacht and they turned out to pick someone else. I'd be really upset about it. Alright, so we get to the yacht, and Sean's having the time of his life. You know, he's shaving, he gets a shower, he's having a massage, and he's eating like cheese, meat, and crackers, and drinking wine. You know, the fun life on the yacht. And then Jeff tells Sean that he wants to introduce him to the captain of the yacht, and they board the captain's deck, I should say, and what looked like the captain who was steering the wheel, Jeff introduced Sean to him, and it turns out it was Sean's dad. So that kind of threw me off a little bit. If they had won the night on the yacht, whoever won could have also got to spend time with their loved one. And that does kind of like throw you off if you weren't the one who won that challenge and you could have spent time with your loved one. For example, my dad. That'd be hard to take in. But I know Sean's thrilled that his dad is there and that he got to spend time with him. I'm on the yacht, and it definitely surprised Richard a lot, the fact that his dad was there and that he got to spend time with not just Sean but also his dad. And they all got back to the beach, even his dad, Sean's dad, he gets to introduce him to everybody, and Sue was asking him what was going on in the world, like what are the stocks like, and he doesn't really know much about that. He doesn't pay attention to that stuff. And we also hear her asking about the college sports, and it looked like Sean was not Sean's dad. It looks like he was gonna think of something, and then he's like, nope. And Sue was laughing because, yeah, they're so much like each other. Like, Sean doesn't know a thing, even though he's a doctor. He doesn't have a clue of what's going on with the world. But before he got to leave, Sean's dad gives everyone a care package from home, Sean included. You know, they got everything from like snacks to like shaving utensils and some toiletries, and even Richard got a message from somebody he knows back at home, like in printout email form, which is kind of cool. Which is really cool. Well, I would absolutely love to get a care package from home. If that were me, my care package probably would have been root beer, Pop-Tarts, and also Junior Mints. I don't know what your guys' favorite candy is. You can tell me that if you want me to. Or at least, yeah, you know what? Tell me on Instagram, and if you guys are listening to this, tell me on Instagram or YouTube in the comments about what your favorite candy is. And I would absolutely love to hear your guys' response. My favorite candy is Junior Mints. I'm a big fan of Junior Mints. I just love the chocolate, and then you got that nice cold, like, minty center in, and it's my favorite candy, I'm not gonna lie. I love Junior Mints, and to those who think Junior Mints are disgusting, to each their own. I respect that, but Junior Mints is my favorite candy. But anyway, so we get into the immunity challenge. Now, for the immunity challenge, this is where you're balancing on a beam. Now, the beam looks big for now, but then Jeff comes in, and it's in the middle of the water. The beam's in the middle of the water, and everybody's up on the beam. But Jeff comes in with a knife, and he cuts rope off connecting the beam. And there are like 6 planks of wood making that beam. And once he cuts one off, it's going to get increasingly shorter and harder to balance on. Whoever lasts the longest on the beam wins immunity. Now, 6 are up there. They seem pretty calm for now. And then Jeff comes in the water. Like, this is probably the most work I have seen Jeff do, as far as Survivor goes. He gets in the water, and then he's cutting the rope that's connecting the beams together. That's probably the most work I've seen Jeff do in a challenge by far. But we get further along into this challenge, and okay, so I probably should explain the rules more. Now, the only rule is you can't touch each other. Like, you can't like hold on to each other or like push each other off. You're not allowed to do that. You are allowed to taunt, though. That's the only rule they will allow. You can only taunt. And what does Richard does? And sorry, I should have said that properly. And what does Richard do? He thinks I'm jumbling up my words again. He sings the Beers on the Wall song. 28 bottles of beer on the wall, 28 bottles of beer. You take one down, pass it around. 27 bottles of beer on the wall. He does that. And he was like up to like 90. Like, he was counting down from 90 to down to like 70 or 60. Or maybe it was 50. I think 50 was right. But eventually, Rudy was the first one to fall off the beam, and then Richard followed behind Rudy, but he definitely went in. And then it was just Rudy and Richard sitting there watching the challenge unfold, and they were talking about how they were wanting to get rid of Kelly if she doesn't win immunity. And they're sitting there watching it all happen, and it looked like Kelly was about to lean over and stumble into the water, and Richard was like, "Go, fall!" And she didn't fall. And again, I will point out, Richard, he's acting like a sports commentator, giving up play-by-play in the challenge that's occurring. And we didn't have Jeff commentating on the challenge, so right at the moment we had Richard commentating in the challenge. And we get down to the last plank of wood that's acting as a beam, and Sean and then Sue fall off, and it was down to Colleen and Kelly. And Richard was pointing out how, even though Colleen was at the bottom of Pagong, like the last remaining Pagong member, she wasn't at risk of being sent home because she was, they were too focused on wanting to get rid of Kelly, because Kelly has been flip-flopping and trying to make herself look like the good guy in front of the other jury members. And they want to get her out because of that. And now it's down to the two of them. And later down the line, we get up to 2 hours and 54 minutes. That's about how long the challenge lasted. About 2 hours. And honestly, that reminds me of a future challenge that happens later in a future season. I'm not going to say which one, but I have a feeling that some of you already know this. We get down to that, and in the end, it was Kelly who wins it, which is not good for Richard because he wanted to get her out. But Kelly wins the immunity necklace, and Jeff was hearing about how hurt and tired their feet were after being on that beam. And he gives her like these slip-on foot soles by Dr. Scholl's. And in my mind, I was already thinking, Survivor, brought to you by Dr. Scholl's foot soles. Product placement. Gotta love it. But we get to Tribal Council, and, Colleen was suspecting that everybody was going to get her out because, she's the last one remaining, and, there's not really much of a choice. It's either her or Sean. And, my goodness. And we get to Tribal Council, and I think everybody can see how this all unfolded, with it being so close to the end. And if they were to vote out Colleen, then there'd be no one from Pagong left to vote out. That would just be the 5 Tagi left in the Ratana tribe, which Richard thought it was a stupid thing he didn't call the tribe Ratana. I mean, come on. It's Survivor tradition, Rich. You gotta call the tribe something when you're merged. You can't just have it called the merged tribe. That's only a temporary thing. But anyway, we get to the votes. It's 2 votes against Sean by Colleen and Kelly. And the rest were 4 votes. And the 11th person and the 4th member of the jury was Colleen. Before she left, though, she told everyone to play nice and be fair. And then she gets her torch snuff. And there goes the last remaining Pagong member. And as Richard said, one of the nicest people there was, because now it's just a bunch of conniving and backstabbers left in the competition. I mean, aside from Sean, though. Well, he's not really much of a game player. We get into the next episode. And I'm gonna, we definitely see them, especially between Kelly and Sue, that they were kind of yelling at each other and telling each other how they were not staying true to the alliance and how they're only looking out for themselves and all of that. Like, Sue was wanting, he focused on how Sue was wanting to get Richard out, so she could be the one who stands out more in this game. And then seeing how Kelly was trying to be nice to the Pagong people, making herself look like the good guy in front of the other bad guys. And we get into the okay, I should probably say this now, because of the Colleen being the last Pagong member left. This has invented the new term of Survivor. This has invented the term of Survivor we Survivor fans know as the Pagonging. Basically, how the Pagonging works is when you have one side, one tribe, so focused on eradicating all the members of the opposing tribe out that it would only be them left standing. Now, this is something that has occurred throughout past seasons before, as we've seen. I'm not going to list all of them because I'm kind of short on time here. But it's happened in past seasons, and Pagonging is probably one of the most famous words or terms to be used on Survivor, as we've seen in using called Survivor Palau, but we'll get to that in another time. So we get to the reward challenge, and it takes place at the Pagong beach, and it has to do with mud. This is the origin of the mud bucket challenge, where you have to go out and collect as much mud as you can and fill up your bucket with as much mud as possible. And whoever has the most mud in the end wins the challenge. Now, this challenge originated in this season and would eventually be carried on in later seasons. Now, the last time we seen this challenge was Survivor Cagayan, Brains versus Brawn versus Beauty. And as I've said before in episode 1, mud has been a staple on Survivor. They've used it in challenges. As I've seen, used it in camp life, not just for like entertainment purposes, but I remember one season where somebody was using it to build like a chimney. I think it was like Survivor China. And you know, it's fun to get to see this challenge originate from this season and where it all started. But we get to the challenge, and everybody's running towards the mud, getting themselves dirty up for it. Even Richard, like, he put his whole lower body into the mud volcano, almost like a plunger. And I'm like, you're just decimating the beautiness of the mud volcano. But, you know, it's for a challenge. But anyway, we get into the end results, and with 15.9 pounds, Kelly Wigglesworth wins the challenge. That's the second challenge that she has won now on her own. And the reward is she gets to have a cold beer and hangs out in a bar in Borneo with Jeff Probst, while also enjoying a plate full of pasta with red sauce and actually getting to watch the first episode of Survivor. Now, it's not the actual first episode. From what I can tell, it's like a differently edited intro clip than what we saw in the first episode, which was kind of fun to see. And had they stuck with that, it would have been interesting to see it in at our home, but also watching it in the TV that they were watching it on. Now we get into the immunity challenge, and this is an interesting challenge. And now, for those of you who don't know this, Borneo is... In Borneo, they're very superstitious, and they're very well connected with like spirits or something like that. And there are 5 like... now, this is a challenge called... I don't know if it's called Urban Legends or Survivor Folklore. Survivor Folklore is the name of the challenge, and basically what they do is they have to hear the story of something that happened within the country that they're currently in. In this case, it's Borneo. Now, there are 5 different superstitions that are told that happens here in Borneo. One was a sacrifice of a goat had to be made in order to please the spirits, and they would have to pour the blood of a goat into a circle around the biggest banyan tree by the high priest. The second was, if you call out somebody's name in the jungle, you will hear it call out to you if you are lost. And the only way you can keep yourself from being lost and to stop hearing your name is that you would have to make a circle out of a vine, then jump into a circle, and then call out your name, and then you get to reclaim it. Then the next was, there was instance where in Survivor, or in the tribal council, where torches would mysteriously blow out on their own without anybody noticing, and the production would have to relight the torches without anyone noticing. And then one was they would have to blow, and tribal council Jeff likes to blow on a conch shell, and it turns out in folklore, when you blow on a conch shell, the headhunters blow into the conch shell, where the spirits will start to pour down rain, and that will cleanse them of their sins after their headhunting of their victims. And then another way, and then the last one was, if you see a snake in your camp, in superstition, that snake actually brings good luck to your camp. And in order to gain bad luck, you would either disrupt it or taunt it, and you would immediately get bad luck. So how this challenge works, in this case, they hear the story, and then there are masks in the jungle that have the questions, and they would have to say their answers while recording themselves with the video camera that they're equipped. They also have to grab the masks that they would get from the challenge. And just, it's funny when watching this challenge. I mean, it's funny because it gets interesting when they're recording themselves as they're saying the answers and the questions. And throughout all this, Rudy's like, as soon as he reads a question, his immediate answer was, I don't know. I don't know to each one. But as the challenge ends, the winner was, of course, Kelly Wigglesworth. The third straight win she has. Kelly's turning out to be a challenge beast. I just realized. Kelly is the first woman to win individual immunity. And this isn't the only time it happens, but I'll say that for another episode. But yeah, Kelly wins immunity again, and at Tribal Council, because it's down to the 5 of them, let's face it, there's like only one person they thought about getting rid of. And when they do get the Tribal Council, unanimously, it was Sean, the clueless doctor who didn't know what he was doing, and the only thing he could rely on was his alphabet strategy and his super pole, which didn't catch any fish. Now, before he left, though, his torch was already put out. I guess the jungle had spoken in that scenario. The tribe has spoken, and the jungle has spoken, as Jeff said. But now it's down to like 4 players, and now there are 5 people on the jury. And I'm excited because that means we're getting close to the finale, and I'm excited to tell you all, everyone about it. Now, as I've said throughout every podcast, after each description of the 3 episodes, I read a question from the questions that you guys sent me through Instagram. If you guys want to send me a question to quiz me on for my Survivor knowledge, you can send them through me on Instagram for my personal account, Mr. Nathan Newport, or through the official Survivor Savant podcast Instagram page. But anyway, the question is, if you are lost in the wilderness, how can you find your way out without a compass? Okay, so this is not necessarily relating towards Survivor, but I will actually answer this question because it's actually a good question that anybody who's interested in survival should know. So, a way to find yourselves out of the woods or something like that if you're lost, and if you don't have a compass, just remember, the sun rises in the east and it always sets in the west. And if you put a stick in the dirt And where the shadow is, if you draw like a circle where the shadow meets and ends, then you can have like a compass. Another thing that can help if you're lost is spider webs. As much as that might creep people out, like my stepmom, spiders always make their webs towards north, and wherever the webs are, that means that you're gonna have to go right the other way if you're like going to south or. But yeah, that's actually a really good question, and not necessarily Survivor TV show related question, but it's a good survival question. So way to quiz me on my survival knowledge. But with that said, thank you guys for listening to this podcast. We are getting down to the nitty gritty with the last episode of Survivor Borneo. I look forward to doing that next week. Thank you guys so much for listening in. I'm very happy with this podcast, and even though it's not necessarily something I expected myself doing, I always thought it would be something fun to do, and I'm glad that I have people like you listening on this and giving me the support that really makes me feel good. But anyway, until next time, thank you guys for listening, and I hope you enjoy being outclassed, outsmarted, and outspoken with the Survivor Savant podcast. This is Nathan Newport, signing out.